as a literary text, and it is also a textbook in many universities. So, with regard to the circumstances and whether British were tired or I think, see, Gandhian mechanism, see, it was an experiment, as I mentioned. So even today, there are people who say that Gandhi was a sublime failure. Sublime failure, at least with respect, they are saying. But many of them have called, there is a book, in fact, Gandhi Vadada Shava Pariksha, which means, I mean, it's originally written in English only, I think. It is the post-mortem of Gandhian thought, or Gandhism. Post-mortem of Gandhi. Gandhi is dead, so we only need to do post-mortem. So, but I will also connect it with the postmodern thought and development, etc. I mean, those who believe in one kind of postmodernism, Rudolph and Rudolph, in that primarily in that book, this discourse appears. The title itself is Postmodern Gandhi. His mechanism, see, violence, there are two aspects to it. Violence as a political means. More than violence, it is the non-violence as political means which has been appreciated and rather absorbed in many countries. You take, I mean, there has been Gandhi's influence on Martin Luther King's movement, on Nelson Mandela, on Tibetan movement. So non-violence as a mechanism of protest, because there is a philosophy behind it, and violence is not accepted. Whether it succeeds or doesn't succeed, it is a different matter. Because for him it was a matter of commitment, and he very strongly believed that that is the only way, and that's why he even goes to the extent of, in fact, calling off his non-cooperation movement when Chauri Chaura violence happens. To that extent was his commitment to non-violence, because you cannot kill those hapless policemen who were doing their duty, and you can't just burn 20 policemen. So I withdraw. He says, I mean, he just, because that was at the height of non-cooperation movement, so he just withdraws it. That was his commitment. So whether it succeeds or doesn't succeed is a secondary question for him. Because for him, if at all it has to succeed in this way only. So that is the belief. Because violence has its very, very wrong consequences. You take the extremist movements of our own times. Hapless people will be killed, whatever may be the cause. But you just see the target, all hapless people, they will be killed. Who are just part of the bigger state machinery. So they get killed in the process. So, and just connecting it with another aspect, postmodernism and development. Now this is exactly where relevance of Gandhi, if at all we intend to discuss, because I did not touch upon that very consciously, because I'd taken just one aspect of philosophy in philosophical sense, and that's why. But if we start discussing his ideas with regard to economics and development and Sarvodaya and Satyagraha, etc., he appears to be much more important, and that's what I mentioned in my introductory remarks. See, modernity and postmodernity, the modernist belief, the progress, absolute, I mean, universal truths, science, rationality, etc., what defines the Enlightenment project, that's what they say. So it has come under suspicion, and hence the one stream of postmodernist thought. This development has not led to, this kind of development has not led to egalitarian society, not led to sustainable society. So if we continue the same path of development, then yes, resources of the earth will get over in a few days. So we need to take a relook at our development, and we also have the problems of climate change, I mean the greenhouse effect and global warming and pollution and all these problems. The root is overproduction, overconsumption, and at the expense of our resources. And if petrol gets over, then we look for something else. So we just continue exhausting the resources of the earth in this way, then definitely, so earth will be converted into a graveyard. Not, that those days are not very far off in that sense. So that is Gandhian dictum. I love that dictum to quote again and again. That is, I mean, yeah. So Professor Kumar also mentioned, so nature provides enough for everybody's need, but not for everybody's greed. So greed is the consumerism is the manifestation of our greed. So neo-colonial tendencies are the manifestation of our greed only. So the whole West Asian crisis, I mean, you know very well, all the students of international relations, you know the root cause of the crisis in West Asia and that region, so particularly. So there, of course, Gandhian alternative and village economy, see, there are interesting debates. So with regard to machinery, a lot of questions were asked during that time only, during his time. Of course, he liked this sewing machine. Sewing machine he liked. He says, I like the machine. I'm not so against machinery and I like this. Most difficult questions have been asked, even during his time. Then somebody asks him, so you say that you like sewing machinery. In order to manufacture sewing machinery, you need big factories. So how do you handle that? So he goes to the extent of saying that, oh, then to that extent, I'm also a socialist. He says that. And it is there. It is there in his Hind Swaraj late conversation. You can read it. To that extent, I'm a socialist because there has to be some kind of, monitoring and state, some social justice, etc., etc. That he says. But one final sentence, because this is interesting. He says, yes, perhaps at one point, this may be necessary. So he was strongly critical of railways also at that time. But he says, yes, railways could be necessary. Railways could be necessary. At this point, everything could be necessary. Yes, I would ideally want all this to be dismantled, but I don't think it is a possibility. But yes, let them continue. But he says, yes, all these machines may be necessary, but so long as society is based on truth and non-violence, this is fine. So long as society is based on truth and non-violence, so long as society takes these two core values seriously, perhaps we can manage these big machineries as well. But since that is not the case, we also have the problems. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Hiregange. I'm a practitioner. We take concepts, we take ideas, we take writings, then we decide what to do in Udupi. Believe me, to ensure that you people are safe and you have a good night's sleep, lot of ideas keep rolling about here or there. For me, practically, what stands out is our constitution. All the ideas of great people, whether it is Gandhiji, Ambedkar, Buddha, etc., it comes down to the constitution. Constitution is an evolving body. Nothing is permanent. But the beauty of the constitution is how you keep interpreting it. Article 14, Article 19, Article 21, life and liberty. So this is what makes a difference. There are lots of things which will happen over the next couple of days, this afternoon and tomorrow. Please appreciate a fact. How do we take any concept, any idea and apply it for the betterment? This is what we need to aim at. If we achieve this within our limited resources, without letting others show us a utopian world and stop us from progressing, things will get done. In India, things get done democracy is very important. Someone had a question. Democracy is very important. Democracy. 5 years, things change. Within 6 months, things again change and show people. This is how things evolve. Democracy is very important. In this framework, each one of us have a role. I only request you, look at what ideas you are presenting before others and how as a country we will benefit it. We should not become the spokespersons for others. We should understand how a decision making, whether it is a greenhouse gases, whether it is the capital account convertibility, will benefit us. We cannot go by X, Y, Z prescriptions and adopt. We need to evolve a way for India to develop. The model that is developed by other countries may not be the best. It may be an example, but may not be the best. So let's keep this in mind when we take Gandhiji's philosophy and see how best we can adopt it to our necessities. Ladies and gentlemen, I, on behalf of the august audience, thank Professor Arvind Kumar and Professor Hiregange for giving us this scintillating discussion. Thank you very much.